Hey, everybody. Welcome to Odd and Untold, the podcast where we talk about all things strange and spooky. And we are well into 2026 now. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season, but holidays are behind us now, and we're moving forward into 2026. And time to get back to some Bigfoot sightings. This episode was requested by uh, a viewer on my YouTube channel, Rico Dog, and he asked me to do some Texas sightings. He didn't specify which county, and I mean, Texas is huge. So I picked Parker County, which encompasses some of the city of Fort Worth. I like doing these stories that are near major cities. I just think that's always cool because people hear about these cities. They don't realize that you go, not too far outside of these cities and you're getting some rural areas. And I just always think that's very cool. And it also kind of ties into the Lake Worth or the Fort Worth monster, which is like a goat man sort of cryptid, not related to the Bigfoot stuff. I did do an episode on goat man type creatures a while back. But yeah, Lake Worth monster, Fort Worth monster. So this is Parker County near Fort Worth, Texas. And let us get into some Texas Bigfoot sightings. Okay, so just a quick bit of geography here. You can see I'm circling Fort Worth here with my cursor. It is just to the west of Dallas, Texas, and you can see Parker County here in yellow, just sort of to the west of Fort Worth proper. But like I said, Fort Worth encompasses parts of Parker County, so we're going to be dealing with Parker County tonight in Texas. Okay, so our first story tonight, daylight sighting on the Brazos River west of Weatherford. This comes to us from October 23rd, 2020. Parker County, Texas. Location details. West of Weatherford, Texas, on the river itself, by itself, and no one else around. There are exact locations here, coordinates. So if you guys want to find this, I will link to these stories in the description below so you guys can always find this. And if you're local and you want to go check it out, go for it. Nearest road is Interstate Highway 20. And observed, witness says, "Hello, my name is Ricardo. On Friday, the 23rd of October, 2020, my wife and I were seeing if a restaurant in Texas was open so we can have lunch. It was around 1 p.m. The name of the restaurant is called the Catfish Cafe, located just west of Weatherford, Texas, on Interstate Highway 20, right next to the Brazos River. There was only one worker at the restaurant, and he told us that the restaurant would not open until 4 p.m. So my wife and I decided to drive around the countryside in that area and kill some time until 4 p.m. So 3 hours, go for a hike. Immediately just west of the restaurant, about 50 yards or so, is a bridge that goes across the Brazos River. We headed across it and stopped in the center of the bridge to look at the river scenery when we spotted a huge dark figure on the river wading into the water around ankle deep. This thing was about a quarter-mile north from the bridge. At first, we thought it could be a man that was kicking the water, chasing a possible fish or something. But looking at the object a little closer, we knew that it was not a man because it was dark, tall, and hairy. We believed that it was a Bigfoot looking for his meal. We stayed there on the bridge for a good 5 minutes as no cars were coming, so they're getting a good look at this thing. We drove around for a while after that and came back to the restaurant about 3:45 p.m., stopping again on the bridge to see if that thing was still there. It wasn't, and we then got our food to go and went back home to our house in Weatherford. You guys are the first people we have told about this incident, so he means the BFRO. Also noticed the thing was one solid color, hairy and dark, tall. The only other witness was his wife. They were on this bridge overlooking the river. Other stories, I've worked in the oil field for many years and saw another Bigfoot close to the Brazos River between Limping and Morgan Mills, Texas. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these. I often do that on this show. So Texans, I apologize. And smelled another along the Brazos River near Granbury, Texas. It smelled like dirty mop dipped in dung, which does not sound pleasant at all. Time and conditions, it was clear, it was sunny, it was cool around 1 p.m. So plenty of light. They're seeing this thing. And there's a follow-up investigation here by BFRO investigator Gary Christensen. And we're going to see his name a lot. He pretty much does like all the follow-up investigations for our stories tonight. And he says, I spoke with the witness by phone and visited the location of his sighting. In addition to his report, he provided some additional details and information about both the reported sighting and a previous sighting. He believes that the figure was closer to 1/8 of a mile on the west side of the river from his position on the bridge rather than the 1/4 mile stated in his report, and the duration of the sighting was closer to 2 or 3 minutes rather than 5. Time can be tricky when you're experiencing things like this. He said the figure always had its back to them and never looked back toward them. He described the figure as a uniform dark chocolate brown color, very tall and hairy. His other sighting occurred in March or April of 2016 while he worked as a water truck driver delivering water to oil drilling sites. While filling up at a well south of Lake Pan, Texas at about 2:30 a.m., he said he felt like he was being watched and initially saw yellow eye shine illuminated by his powerful spotlight from a wooded area about a quarter mile away. Losing sight of the eye shine, he continued his work. The next time he noticed the eye shine, it was about 75 yards from him, and he could see it came from a massive upright creature 7 to 8 feet tall with a huge head and no neck. He immediately packed up his gear and jumped in his truck. On the way out of the property, he attempted to catch the creature in his headlights, but it had gone. On 2 previous night visits to this site, he had smelled a powerful odor and again smelled the odor during the same visit as the sighting. He said that he was very frightened by this experience and has refused to visit that well site at night again. I visited the location of the bridge sighting and found it to be as the witness described. I could see the river and large sandbars for about a half mile before it disappeared in a westward bend. The west side of the river was dense, uninhabited forest, while the east side appeared to have a private park with several structures before merging into more forest. I spoke with the resident of the property and his adult daughter and told them about the sighting. Although they said they hadn't noticed anything abnormal, they seemed very receptive to the possibility and promised to contact me if they heard or saw anything. The Brazos River and its tributaries have had a long history of Bigfoot encounters, and this witness, because of his work and knowledge of this part of the Texas, has extraordinary familiarity with the land and its inhabitants. I found the witness to be very sincere and truthful in describing his sighting. So here we have somebody who has had 2 sightings. The first one is he and his wife are on this bridge. They're waiting for this restaurant to open, and they see a tall, dark, hairy, Bigfoot-like creature kicking the water, like wading in the water and kicking. I've not really heard that behavior before. That sounds interesting to me. I've heard of Bigfoot, splashing in the water with their hands, like either drinking the water, splashing it on their face, or just rummaging around. This is weird. It's like kicking the water with its feet. So maybe it's trying to dislodge some rocks, crayfish or clams. I don't know what's in that river. It's a weird behavior. Not sure what to make of it. But it's interesting. You have that uniform color, a dark chocolate brown. It's hairy. Most people, when they're outside, they're not wearing uniform colors. They have blue jeans and a t-shirt and a hoodie. Like, it's different colors. You could see the face, you could see the skin, not covered in hair. So we can eliminate just a person, an average person, just somebody out fishing or whatever. Could this have been a hunter in a ghillie suit? Again, I don't know why a hunter in a ghillie suit would be out like that kicking the water. Just doesn't make sense. Ghillie suits can be heavy and hot, and you're not going to be out just doing that. You're going to take the suit off if you got to get into the water. A person in a gorilla suit or a Bigfoot costume, again, doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's not a bear. So again, if this person is not lying, they saw something strange. And the other encounter he had was also really interesting. He's seeing again this tall, hairy thing with odor, and he noticed the odor 2 nights before. Both nights before, he's smelling this bad odor, and then on, I guess, the 3rd night, he's seeing this creature with the yellow eye shine. And Bigfoot eye shine can change. You hear about big red eye. You hear about old orange eyes. There's different eye shines attributed to Bigfoot type creatures, and it can just range the gamut there. So, but he's seeing this yellow eye shine. He's smelling this odor, sees this creature. So guys had 2 encounters here. So lucky, unlucky, depends on your point of view, I suppose. But good sightings here. He's especially the daytime one. The nighttime one, there's not a lot of detail here, so I can't really expand upon that. I don't know what he saw. Big head, hairy, 7 to 8 feet tall. Again, not a bear, not a person. Bears and people are just not that tall typically. So who knows? But let me know what you guys think about this one. I think this is a really good sighting. Okay, so for our next story, this is a nighttime road crossing sighting 4 miles south of Weatherford. So again, close to Weatherford. This one is from July 13th, 2019, Parker County. Heading away from Weatherford. Nearest road is Tin Top Road. This is a shorter report, so the follow-up investigation has a lot more info. So this is a quick story, and then we'll get into the follow-up with which fleshes it out a little bit. So the witness says, I had an encounter that happened in July of 2019. I was driving down Tin Top Road right after Thompson Road exit at night, and I saw a large black humanoid figure that stopped in the middle of the road, looked towards my car, and after a second ran across the road. So not a bear. So this was nighttime, a little after 11 p.m. There wasn't much light except from the porch lights and the two houses off of the street. There's a horse ranch on one side, and on the other side, an overgrown field. So again, follow-up investigation by Gary Christensen, and he says, I spoke with the witness by phone. Since the incident occurred over a year ago, I did not go to the location to search for further evidence, but have traveled this road on several occasions. So yeah, you're not going to find footprints a year later from this encounter. In addition to his report, the witness provided the following details. While traveling south on Tin Top Road at night, he saw movement on the left side of the road approaching the highway. He slowed his vehicle to about 40 miles per hour and was at the closest 100 feet from the creature when it appeared to stumble, enter the highway, briefly pause, and then take off at a high speed onto an overgrown weed field on the right side of the highway. He remarked that no human could have moved that fast at night in that field. He described the creature as about 7 feet tall, on two legs, and an outline like a bodybuilder with excessively long arms. In his headlights, he could see the distinct shape and that it had no clothes, but could not see details such as color or details of hair. So it's dark and, the headlights are on it. You're seeing silhouettes, basically. You can't really tell. You can tell it's dark. You just don't know. Is it brown? Is it red? Is it black? When it paused in the road, he could not see if it looked at him. He did not observe eye shine, but did notice a skunk-like smell that may or may not have been associated with what he saw. He estimated the total time of the encounter to be about 5 seconds. So very quick, almost like the car crash sort of thing. You see it and it's quick. Although he slowed initially, after the creature ran into the weed field, he continued home. Since he's a longtime resident of that area, I asked him about any other occurrences that he experienced or knew about. He mentioned several for which he had no explanation and did not seem to be done by human or any other animal. He once found 5 or 6 goat carcasses hanging by their horns from a single strand of barbed wire near a creek bed. When he was 10 years old in 2006, while near a farm pond, he heard a very powerful scream or roar during midday that frightened him. His brother, who lives nearby, has seen eyes in his window at night, heard tapping on his window also, and had a door to his home ripped off and the lock was broken but nothing stolen. Interesting. On another occasion, a shed was broken into and a 50-pound bag of trash stolen while many high-value items were untouched. So just grabbing the food, basically. These incidents resulted in calls to the sheriff's department, but no culprit was found. I found the witness to be very sincere, forthright, and with excellent recall of his encounter. The road and the countryside between Weatherford and Granbury, Texas, has a long history of sightings, again, the previous sighting, some of which I have previously investigated, meaning Gary Christensen. So let's talk about this one. This is another roadside crossing, which from the very beginning of this show, Scott and I, my buddy Scott and I had talked about this before I even started this program. And it was like one of the main topics that we discussed when we first met was like, why do these things cross the road when there's a car coming? If they're intelligent, if they're supposed to be like these wood ninjas that know the forest better than anybody, why do they hear a car coming, see the lights, and then run in front of it when they could wait 5 seconds for the car to pass? Most people aren't looking behind them when they're driving. They're looking ahead. So this thing could cross, especially at night, and nobody would ever notice it. The taillights aren't really going to illuminate this thing enough where someone's going to be like, oh my God, Bigfoot ran behind our car. They're just seeing it in front of the car. Another interesting thing is he says it kind of stumbles. So that's not something we hear too often. And for me, that's an interesting detail. It's a realistic detail, and it shows sort of the fallibility of these creatures, that maybe they are biological. It's tripping, it's not this Nephilim or this godlike creature from another dimension or whatever. It's trying to cross the road and it trips and stumbles. It pauses and then it runs off on 2 legs. So again, not a bear. So a really interesting sighting. I really like this one. Like I said, there's just that bit of believability there with the stumbling. And of course, somebody could throw these things in to make the story sound more realistic, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I think this is a guy who saw something. It's 7 feet tall. It's on 2 legs, outline of a bodybuilder. We discussed this in previous episodes where it's, the broad shoulders and then kind of slimming at the waist, like muscular. And bears don't look like that. Bears are very just straight up and down. So really interesting. Uh, he smells something, a skunk-like smell. He's not saying it was the Bigfoot. He's just saying he smelt it. The other stories he has, some of them are really interesting. I mean, the dead goat carcasses, I mean, that could have been a person. If we're not seeing what did it, you could have a bunch of teenagers out there getting drunk and just being stupid, and they go out and kill some goats and hang them to scare people. It doesn't mean it was Bigfoot. It's creepy. Doesn't mean it was Bigfoot. Uh, the other thing, his brother who lives nearby has seen eyes in his window at night, tapping on the window also. We hear this a lot. These creatures looking in the window, usually with children, but they'll see these things looking in the window or tapping on the glass to get someone's attention, usually with children or women. It's not usually men, but very strange. And the door ripped off, but nothing taken from the home. So again, maybe vandals, but why? Um, and then the 50-pound bag of trash stolen while nothing else was taken. So it's like taking the food. Interesting. But I like this one too. Again, it's that weird nighttime road crossing that doesn't really make sense, but it happens so often, and that it stumbled. I like that detail. It just adds a little bit of biological realism for me. So very cool. Okay, story number 3. Gas field trucker has encounter with Bigfoot at Wellhead near Aledo. So again, another wellhead. We're going to hear about Aledo again tonight as well. And this is from August 27th of 2011. Parker County. Location details. The witness asks, please do not post the directions to this place. Nearest road is FM Highway 5. And observed, I work in the oil field industry hauling salt water, and at one site we have something big walking around. I've seen it for myself, as have a few others. But on the night of August 26, 2011, I seen its eyes on the other side of the fence that is at least 9 to 10 feet high. After I'd seen the eyes, it moved out of view, then started to throw rocks at the tank. The first thing that caught my attention was the lack of wildlife sounds and the smell of a skunk, and the sound of something that sounded like a low growl. Another person had put a game camera up, and it got a picture of something blocking the camera 30 minutes before I'd gotten there. I've seen other things in my time as a truck driver, but this is a little too close to home. Strange picture on the game camera, he mentions. Other witnesses, he's saying 2 other people have seen it while pulling salt water out of the wells. This is after midnight going into the 27th day of August. Environment, woods with a creek. We hear this a lot of creeks, railroad tracks, or like electrical power lines where it's like cut through the woods so that the power lines could be put up. So really interesting. And again, we have a follow-up investigation by Gary Christensen. And he says, I spoke to the witness by phone. He added the following details. The creature was described as having a large person silhouette with broad shoulders and glowing red eyes. So there we go, like the red eyes instead of yellow. He estimates that the eyes were about 7 to 8 feet off the ground and were easily seen through the widely spaced cable of the fence. At the time of his sighting, the normally loud compressors at the site were in an off cycle, and the environment was dead quiet. The rocks it threw at the tank were about tennis ball size and most likely came from the riverbed area. The witness believes 5 rocks were thrown, with 2 hitting the most westerly tank in a group of 6 storage tanks. This tank is the closest one to the creature's location when first sighted. Even though the rocks did not land near him and his truck, the witness felt intimidated and departed the site. He didn't look at the rocks until his return the following night. So yeah, the rock throwing is definitely, it's aggressive. I don't know if it's meant to be harmful, but it's definitely an aggression behavior. It's basically like, hey, get out of here. It's not necessarily trying to hurt the witness, but it's sending a message. If you got rocks thrown at you, you got to skedaddle. I saw the game cam photo. It shows a 9/10 solid black exposure with no detail. It was the timing of the photo that intrigued the witness, not the content. So something triggered the camera. Coincidence? Possibly. At about 1:30 a.m., about 3 weeks after his initial report, the witness and a coworker were exploring the river bottom less than 100 yards from his sighting. A deer came crashing through the brush on the far side of the creek and froze when it saw the 2 men. Within seconds, a huge rock, described by the witness as a boulder, flew into the center of the riverbed. He felt that it was not aimed to hit them, but to intimidate them. Both men and the deer quickly departed. The witness also mentioned that one of his coworkers was visibly shaken by something that happened at the site, but would not share his experience. This reminds me of my episode with Josh from York County, and he has a friend who saw something, and as soon as Josh sort of mentioned, like, this sounds like Bigfoot, like the friend just shut up. Like he wouldn't share any more details. He wouldn't. So sometimes people, they want to get this out, but when they get a little too close to what it might be, they pull back. So I thought that's interesting. The next thing he heard was that his coworker had quit and moved to another state. The witness has been a truck driver for 7 years and lives in a rural home a short distance from the sighting. Previously, his wife told him that she had seen red eyes at night looking at their house. So here we have again the eyes looking in the house, looking at the house when a woman is home. This is the second independent report from the same gas well site. So it's the same site. I found him to be a credible witness, and his observations were consistent with the witness from the other report. We're going to get to that report after this. But this one is really an interesting sighting for me. And I know I use that word a lot, but they're all just really interesting. He's seeing this creature, he's seeing the eye shine, and then rocks get thrown. There's a growl, there's a smell. I mean, it has a lot of Bigfoot qualities to it. This is not a bear, not a person. I can't imagine a person doing this. You're going to go out into the woods at night and be throwing rocks at people who may be armed. And it's a group of guys. I mean, there's more than one person there. So if you're this one person in the woods throwing rocks at people and growling, like, you are probably going to get shot or chased. So really bizarre encounter. 5 rocks were thrown. So again, there's not too many things in nature that can throw rocks. It's people and anything else that has an opposable thumb. Bigfoot, perhaps. So, and then 3 weeks later, they have this other encounter. They have a coworker who would not share his experience, but quits and moves to another state. And we hear this a lot with hunters who quit hunting and fishermen who never go fishing again. They have these encounters, and these people are passionate about their hobby of hunting or fishing or camping. And then people just, they have an encounter and they're like, yeah, I'm selling the tent, I'm selling my guns, I'm selling my fishing rod. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. These are not people who came across a bear. These are not people who came across other hikers in the woods who were spooking them. These are people who saw something or encountered something that scared them so badly. And I don't know if it was Bigfoot, I don't know if it was Sasquatch, but something is making them give this up for life. And that's always interesting to me. So things to pay attention to. Okay, story number 4. Worker has a late night Bigfoot encounter at gas well near Aledo. So Aledo again, and this is June 2011. Highway 5 south of Aledo's location details, nearest town, Aledo, and observed. Gas well site, 6 tanks with loud compressors, a creek behind the tanks with houses everywhere. I had 2 lights on my tractor trailer and one on my hard hat so I can read gauges. I start to grab my stuff and I'm almost to the steps. I see eyes light up from my hard hat light. They were about 20 feet from the compressor steps on the other side of the fence by the creek. So this sounds a lot like the previous story. Now, I'm a hog hunter, so I'm used to seeing eyes until I was looking up at it. So I knew it was not a hog or deer or horse or cow. I'm guessing he means it was high. As it looked at me, I stood there looking at it. It stepped out from behind a tree toward the fence. It looked at me, then turned so I could not see its eyes anymore, and it walked like a human into the creek. So I ran to my truck and called my boss. Now, I am not scared of a man, but that was not a man. So just kind of like what I was saying, these people know what they're seeing. They're not afraid of other people. They're not afraid of hogs or bears. Like, they're hunters. They're out there. They know what's out there. They know how to deal with it. These are people who are seeing things that they can't explain, and it doesn't make them feel good. You know, they're just like, I'm not scared of anything, but this scared me. Other witnesses, he's saying, no, he was alone. It was about 2 a.m. And we have a follow-up investigation by our buddy Gary Christensen, who says, I spoke with the witness by phone and visited the sighting location both during the day and at night. The following details can be added. The witness said that while hooking up hoses at a gas storage and compressor facility, he noticed a white glow of animal eyeshine coming from the woods behind the site. So now we're hearing a third color, white. We've heard yellow, red, and now white. The owner of the eyes moved toward him and stopped at a 12-foot tall cable fence, then turned left and moved into the wooded creek bottom. The fence consists of vertical support beams and horizontal steel cables spaced about a foot apart. Visibility through the fence is excellent. So it's not like little slats you're looking through. You know, this is wide enough that you can see what's on the other side. Visibility through the fence is excellent, as I said. However, the 2 LED headlamp that the witness was wearing cast a wide, weak beam that did not illuminate the creature well enough to see many details of its appearance at the 25-foot distance between them. The details that he could provide were a dark, muscular shape. So we're hearing that again, the broad shoulder, muscular, a short but visible neck. We don't hear that too often. We hear no neck, which is not really true. I think a lot of it is just hair and bulk, and it may look like no neck, but there's clearly a neck if they're looking around. Short hair, a pupil in the reflective eyes, and a height of about 7.5 to 8 feet by recalling where the eyes were in reference to its surroundings. So he's seen these eyes, and it's not, I mean, I've seen lots of eye shine in the woods, and most of it has been very low to the ground or like deer height. So you could say, okay, I'm seeing a deer, I'm seeing a raccoon, a skunk, a rabbit, whatever it is, but this is 7 to 8 feet in, above the ground. This encounter so impressed the witness that he is using trail and security cameras to obtain more evidence of the creature and is searching for footprint and hair sample evidence. So, like a lot of people who don't ever even think about Bigfoot, they have an encounter and then they're like all in and they're just all about trying to find this. It's like, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind sort of thing from that movie, of the obsession with the monument, So, really interesting. He emailed trail camera photos of me investigating the area and buck deer on a game trail at the site. The witness is a night hog hunter, very knowledgeable of local wildlife and very credible. The witness's boss, who has been a longtime resident of the sighting area, has also seen the eyes and remarked to the witness that many locals have had experiences with the monster. So make of that what you will. So yeah, really interesting sighting. Again, so similar to the previous one, of just these guys out working at night, and not a lot of light. They have light from their trucks, they have light from their headlamps, seeing eye shine and seeing these creatures tall, hiding behind trees or coming out from behind trees and then turning and walking away. And they're clearly on two legs. Again, I can't imagine any person being in the woods doing this and approaching a private site of wells, whether it's water, whether it's gas, whether, whatever it is. You're trespassing, you're going to get shot. It's Texas. And not to stereotype, but in states that are, not New York City, people carry and people are going to be territorial. I mean, even upstate, there's posted land. You can't trespass. You risk getting shot, either by hunters or by landowners. You got to be careful. So to go out there and do this and throw rocks at people and scare them, you're just asking to be shot. Clearly not a bear. So I don't know what this person is seeing. Again, either they're lying or they saw something that I can't explain. So very cool sighting. All right, so our penultimate story for the night. While parking near Sunshine Lake, teens have a late night encounter, and this is from December of 1982. So we're going back a little bit here. So this was near Sunshine Lake. Nearest town is Weatherford. So again, these are all kind of clustered around the same area. And the witness says, this is a long one, but stick with me. My girlfriend and I were parking at the edge of a creek flowing into the back of the lake. It was dark and under the cover of trees where we were parked. You could not see your hand in front of your face. We had the windows cracked a little and were in the back seat of the car when we heard something out of the ordinary. We had been there before, so knew the usual night sounds in the area. An owl lived in the big tree nearby and hooted all the time. The hill in front of the car went down to a swamp with a creek in the middle going to the lake. There were crickets, frogs, and locusts all making their normal sounds that night. But we heard something coming through the leaves in the bottoms. It sounded like it was heading towards our car. I've spent a lot of time in the woods hunting, fishing, and trapping growing up, so I don't get spooked that easily. At first, I thought it was a cow, but then we noticed all the night sounds were gone. No frogs, crickets, owl, all dead quiet except for the footsteps. They were on 2 feet, a step and a drag step, like it had a hurt foot or something. So it's almost like limping. It's taking a step and then dragging, taking a step and dragging. So again, another interesting detail that most people aren't going to throw in there. So interesting. Then being a kid, I thought of all the horror movies I watched and figured it was a guy who jumped the train and was coming to kill us and take our car. As the steps got closer, I got really bugged. It was coming up the hill right at the car. Finally, after what I thought was an eternity, I flew over the front seat, started the car, and the only problem was that it was a new car she just bought and I had never driven it. She was screaming about dying or something when I threw it in reverse and stomped on the gas. I was there before and knew the road opened up behind me, so as I was going backwards, I hit the light switch. This was a big mistake because it turned out to be the cigarette lighter. As soon as we came out of the tree cover, we got some moonlight and I found the headlight switch. So Yeah, they're not even thinking Bigfoot. They're thinking, you're in the woods, something's walking towards your car, it's on 2 feet. Especially back then. I mean, this is only a couple of years after like Son of Sam and these kind of parking lot killings, Lover's Lane sort of thing. So you're worried about this guy's going to come hurt us, and they're not thinking Bigfoot yet. So he continues. This all happened really quick, but I looked up and there was this animal leaping over the hill going into the creek. It was really wide at the shoulders and had almost no neck. So very similar description, almost no neck, wide shoulders, not a bear. I thought at first that it was a bear, but there was not any bears in this area. I saw a big brownish black creature running through the trees. I saw two shoulders and the back of the head go between two trees, later measured to be about 4.5 feet apart. It covered between them easily. I asked my girlfriend, "Did you see that?" She said she saw a brown spot in the lights, like a bear on two legs. So again, they're thinking bear basically because I'm guessing the cover and the hair. You're seeing something brown or blackish and hairy. Your first thought is going to be bear, but it's on two legs, so not a bear. I think the car scared it, so we went to town for help. After we got more people, trucks with lights and some equipment came back. We left the truck lights shining in the bottoms and looked around for tracks with our flashlights. We started to look for footprints. The ground was dry and covered with leaves, but we did find large scrapes going up the hill to where the car was parked. They looked like it was where the animal jumped over the hill. They were very far apart. I had to stretch as far as I could from one on the bottom to the one at the top. I am 6'4" with a 38-inch inseam. This was a large stride. This is when the whole woods went quiet again. It was nuts. 5 pretty big guys all standing in a circle like a herd of buffalo back to back, scared, I guess. None of us moved a muscle. Flashlights and guns pointed out at the dark. We listened to the dead quiet of the woods. Then all of a sudden, a tree limb snaps, loud, and then everything gets back to normal. Then one by one, the frogs, crickets, owls all started making noise again. Really strange night for sure. So it's almost like this thing moved off. The next day, my brother and a friend went to walk the creek with buckshot in our shotguns. We walked about a half mile down the creek, spread out like small game hunting. We came to the area where the railroad tracks were up on the hill. My brother was at the bottom. I was in the middle. My friend was on the end furthest from the hill. Then we heard a lot of racket and looked over to my brother. He yelled my name in a really scared voice as something was going up over the hill. I remember seeing trees bending back as if used to help something get up and over the top. So it's like pulling on these trees. When I got to where my brother was, he was on one knee and had his gun pointed up at the hill. I said, "What was it?" And he said, "I don't know, but it was big." We found 2 marks on a really steep bank going up the railroad tracks. I tried to climb it and could not. The marks were in the middle of the hill and at the top. Something very strong and powerful went up the hill. It had a big stride also. The hill was about an 80% incline. The only other thing they noticed, just the tracks we found. We found a weird stick formation. We thought some kids made a fort. Looked like a bunch of sticks, 5 foot in length and wrist width lined up in a row of tree limbs like a lean-to. So yeah, probably kids. I just don't like the tree structure thing so much, unless you're seeing Bigfoot do it. I just think there's too many other possible explanations. Not saying it's not Bigfoot, but it doesn't fully impress me all the time. The other witnesses, just my girlfriend and I saw the creature that night. My brother and friends heard the tree limb snap. My brother did see something big when we went back the next day. So they're seeing glimpses of this thing. This was 11 p.m. It was a clear, warm night. He's heard of a few other sightings in the area, and there's plenty. Follow-up investigation report doesn't say by whom. Just says, "I've spoken at length with the witness on numerous occasions and consider him to be among the most credible of witnesses. There are no additional details to add to the report." So yeah, a lot of Bigfoot sightings from this area. And this one's just cool for me because it does sound almost like the Lake Worth monster, a goat man, just that sort of trope of the creature coming to Lover's Lane and scaring the kids in the backseat of their car, teenagers making out and fooling around. And whether it's the goat man, whether it's the guy with a hatchet, the serial killer, the guy with the hook, there's all sorts of stories like this, ghost stories or scary stories, whatever you want to call them. But then they see this large bear on 2 legs running away through the trees, and it's huge, and it gets up this hill. And that's the other thing. We hear this a lot, that these creatures get through the woods just so easily. They climb these hills, they go through the brush. People aren't going to get through that easily. There's a reason why people bring machetes and people stick to trails. Going through the brush is very difficult. just as human beings, we don't know where we're stepping. We can't see where we're stepping. There's thorns, there's roots, there's all sorts of things. And going uphill, I mean, even human beings in the best of shape are not going to be able to scale a hill like that quickly. We're just not built for that. A Bigfoot would be, a bear would be as well, but they're both seeing this thing on two legs, muscular. That doesn't sound like a bear to me. So again, we're left with uh, either they're lying or they saw something that we can't explain. It just doesn't sound like anything that I can fit into this as being. It's not a man, it's not a bear. What is it? So really cool. Okay, so one more story for you guys tonight. This comes to us from 1975, October. A woman remembers encounter not far from the Brazos River. So again, October 1975, Parker County. It was at the corner of Bennett Road and Dobbs Valley Road. Nearest town is Bennett, Texas. And this happened on Bennett Road. And observed, she says, I was driving home from town to my parents' house in southwest Parker County when I came to the turnoff to go down their road. I saw something big to the left of the road. It was dark brown or black and was standing up next to a tree. So again, we have this creature near a tree. And I don't know why Bigfoot always kind of hang out by trees or hide behind trees. It's a weird thing. It must have been 7 or 8 foot tall. It looked like it was eating leaves off of a tree or something. As I drove up to the turnoff, it ran back on two legs, again, into more trees toward my parents' home. I was afraid to get out of the car when I reached the house, thinking this thing could be right behind me. This memory has always haunted me. I do not like going down to my parents' house at night anymore for fear something is living around that area. My parents' house is about 1 to 1.5 miles from the Brazos River. Also noticed the property is all fenced in. I did not go back and look for any footprints or anything. Frankly, I was too scared to. She was the only witness. She had not heard of any other reports. She's saying it was dusk, not quite dark, but not daylight. So probably enough light to see what she was seeing. The environment, it says the creature was inside the fence at a clump of trees. So it's this tall, 7 to 8 foot tall thing eating leaves off the trees. It's not a bear, especially when it runs on two legs. You know, people know what a bear looks like. And if it's a bear, they scare the bear. The bear, even if it's standing up, it's going to go back down on all fours and then scurry off. It's not going to run on two legs. Their hind legs are tiny. So, yeah. Follow-up investigation report. Again, it doesn't say by whom. I spoke with the witness via telephone about her encounter that took place when she was a teenager. Although her encounter occurred many years ago, the witness recalled it like it happened recently. My call was placed to her without warning, and it had been a substantial amount of time since she submitted the report, yet she spoke of the incident with assurance. So she didn't have time to prepare. She's kind of caught off guard, but she speaks to the story. The witness told me that she was driving home one evening just as the sun was going down, so still light in the sky. It was not quite dark enough to necessitate the use of headlights. As she turned onto the road on which her parents lived, she saw something large to her left, standing next to a tree with its back to her. The witness said she immediately thought it was Bigfoot. So she's looking at this thing, and again, some people like, oh, is that a bear? Is that a man? She's looking at this and being like, there's Bigfoot. Like, it's just kind of hitting her. So kind of crazy. The creature was reaching up in the trees, picking berries or leaves. So again, not something a bear is going to do. A bear is going to use its snout. It's not going to pick with its hand or claw. I rather surmise that the creature was more likely attempting to harvest pecans or acorns. At any rate, the witness had an instantaneous fear reaction. So it's like she's seeing this thing and instantly she's like, okay, this is Bigfoot. And she's, freaking out. She said she could see that the creature was covered in a brownish red, dark, long hair and that its arms were long. So again, she's getting a good look at this thing. The witness went on to describe the animal as having an appearance like a humongous man, but hairy. So it looks humanoid, but it's hairy and it's huge. As the witness drove past the animal, it took off running west on two legs. The witness also stated that the Bigfoot ran very fast and that its stride was very long. She noted that it ran into the trees. The creature never turned to face her. Her encounter was very short and she was quite shaken by it. So she never saw the face. She's just seeing this thing from the back. It's trying to pick something off the tree. It hears the car and just runs off. She drove on to her parents' house, but was afraid to get out of the vehicle for fear that the animal may have followed her. So she's freaked out. Finally, she gathered the courage to exit the vehicle and went into the house only to have her parents tell her that she was seeing things. However, years later, her husband, being from East Texas, would have no trouble believing her. So, as a lot of witnesses do, her parents aren't believing her, saying, you're just seeing things. It's hard to dismiss people when they're that freaked out. They saw something that scared them. Even if you don't believe what they saw was what they saw something. The witness stated that the area was very much a wilderness area back then, but now is much more developed with new homes appearing more often. In summation, the witness was very clear about her encounter and was not hesitant whatsoever. For those who would challenge her veracity, the witness simply said, "You should have been there. I was there. I know what I saw." So we get that a lot, and that's why I hate questioning witness testimony. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes it's a fleeting glimpse of something. They're seeing it from 200 yards. They saw something black in the bushes, or they hear a twig snap, or they see, two twigs on the ground and it kind of sort of resembles an arrow. And they're like, oh, Bigfoot made that. No, there's certain stories you definitely have to doubt. Then there's other stories where you're just sort of saying, how could an adult human being see this and not realize that, if they're seeing a bear, how did they not realize they saw a bear? If they saw a person, how did they not realize it was just a person? I understand, people who do ghost hunting, people who go Bigfoot hunting, you're expecting these things. It's on your brain. I mean, I was a ghost hunter. This would happen to us all the time. We'd hear things and we would have to debunk it because now your senses are really paying attention to everything around you. And if you're Bigfoot hunting in the woods, now you're paying attention to everything around you, and anything you see is like, oh my God, was that Bigfoot? Oh my God, was that Bigfoot? You're not just going out there to just be camping or hiking. If it's on the brain, everything now becomes possible Bigfoot. But this is not what was happening here. She's driving to her parents' house. I don't know, she's going for dinner. Sounds like it was, late afternoon, early evening, and she's going to her parents' house, I'm guessing, for dinner. So she's not thinking Bigfoot, but she sees this thing and it's like almost automatic. Her brain just sees it and it's like, oh my God, there's Bigfoot. It's not a bear. It's not a person. She's afraid to get out of the car, even though this thing ran off. But she gets not the facial features, but she's seeing that this thing was broad shouldered, it was tall, and then it ran away on two legs. So what are we left with? This is either a large person in a ghillie suit picking acorns off of a tree, which doesn't make any sense, Bigfoot, or she's lying. And I don't think she's lying. Again, I can't fathom people coming onto this site, going to the local news, spending time talking to people on the phone, follow-up investigators, and just lying. For what? Where's the payoff? There's no payoff in that. And I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm not saying there's not a few nut jobs out there who don't get off on that and haha, I fooled somebody. There are. Of course there are. But it's a small portion of what's out there. So you have all these stories. Some of them are real. Most of them are probably real. And did they see Bigfoot or not? I don't know. Again, some stories it's a little bit harder to tell. But she's seeing this thing run off on two legs. It wasn't a bear, and it doesn't sound like a person. So let me know what you think she saw. I think it was Bigfoot. All right, everybody. There are 6 Bigfoot encounter stories from Parker County, Texas, near Fort Worth, and all really good stories. All, eyes on the creatures, credible witnesses, credible sightings. Not tons of detail, but just enough to know that these things were on 2 legs. They're hairy, they're big, and they're running or walking away on 2 legs. And you can't discount that. You can't just say it was a bear. You can't just say it was misidentification. So these people are either lying, they saw somebody in a gorilla suit, or they saw Bigfoot. And you all know what I think. I think these people saw something that we cannot explain. Just my 2 cents. So as I said at the beginning, everybody, this was an audience member requests. Rico requested Texas. If you have a request, you want me to do a certain place, county, city, town, country, different cryptid. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot. It could be UFO sightings. It could be Bigfoot sightings. It could be ghost stories. Anything that you like. The next couple of episodes are actually going to be audience member requests. So stay tuned for those. I love those. It just gives me some direction instead of just trying to pick myself every week. So yeah, I'm going to have you guys do the work for me. So tell me what you'd like to see. Tell me what places you'd like me to cover, which animals, cryptids, legends you want me to cover, and I am happy to do so. But until next time, everybody, question everything. Like I said, we do have to question these stories. Not, that we're doubting the witnesses, but could these have been bears? Could these have been misidentifications of other things? These stories, I don't think so. And you know, a lot of people say the BFRO only puts certain stories on their site, and maybe that's so, but maybe the stories we don't see are the ones that are just so easily dismissed, or they speak to the witness and they can tell that this person's not serious or not for real, or maybe there's a little mental illness going on there and they just remove them from the site. So there does have to be some censorship there. You can't just leave everything up there. That being said, I don't know. You know, the BFRO has a lot of good points, a lot of bad points, and I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to read the stories and give my 2 cents, if it's worth even that. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Question everything. Till next time, everybody, embrace the weird and rock and roll. See you next time.